Hi, welcome to the GenAI Mastery course. The goal of this course is to take you from a beginner GenAI user to an expert GenAI user in 7 sessions. My name is Lucky from GenDucate, and I will be your trainer in this course. Let's dive in. So let's dive in. The part one is the knowledge base. As usual, in the first session, we follow this process. So we look at a key term, what a key term is, and I'll just try to simplify it, and then we move on to the practice. So Retrieval-Augmented RAG is basically training your generative AI to respond to specifically given information. So it responds to specifically given information. It doesn't respond to other information. You see, and as usual, we have a scenario here. You see, hey, I'm going to use only a few documents as you would expect. I can't use 50 or 100 documents for this session. But then the process is what matters. Like I said in the first session, follow the scenario and then you can scale for your own. You can contextualize it to your own. Here, it talks about having dozens of PDFs, strategy docs, emails, different types of files and different types of documents. But you need a system. And from that system, you want to pull out something. And on this occasion, we're looking at specific milestones for phase 3. So you see the beginning. You have all these documents. You don't even know which one to get the information from. You can either first organize the document and then you can find it, or you can do both steps. Use generative AI to organize the document and find, which is quicker, and find the specific information you are looking for. On this occasion, the milestones for phase 3. And then you get the specific answer for the project. Now, this depends on different factors. First of all, being the number, how many files you're working with, and how specific the information you're looking for, and what do you need that specific information for, all of that. But what we've done on this course is to give you a template, almost a template to follow. So you have a scenario now, you know what the scenario is about. There are different stages in the scenario. First of all, you have so many documents, and you need information from them, but you don't know where to get it from. So basically organizing, and then before you find the information, and then use that information. So 3 layers here, which can be complex, but we try to simplify things on the course. So how not to do it, which is a beginner approach. As you see the prompt, upload the files, tell me what the milestones are for phase 3. Generative AI would be able to pick, if you give it all the files, it would be able to pick the milestone for phase 3. It would do that. But the problem is it would miss information in a way that it will present it that is the phase 3 milestones, that specific you're looking for. It will present it like that, and you wouldn't know. This is where it becomes a problem. You wouldn't know because you have 100 documents that it's working with. You probably wouldn't know how it's mixed the information from another phase. You're looking for phase 3 because it might be very similar. It would take information from phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and bundle everything together and present it in a very nice way. And you read everything, you're like, yeah, that sounds about what I'm looking for. Because you don't know what's in the document. So don't do that. This is a disaster. In reality, this is a disaster because somewhere along the line, something is going to happen. Someone is going to find out and it becomes a problem. How do you do it to avoid that? Step 1, you can use any of the tools. You upload the files. It says dedicated knowledge folder here. The reason that word is used is because the organizing part, at this step, you would have done the organizing part already. Because that's a simple prompt. You're giving GenAI the files and say, organize these files using, we've done something similar in the first session. So you go back to that session when we did that. So you've already organized the files. So from all the different group, you have one called knowledge folder. So this is the one that you're using. And then before you do the prompt, so you're working with that folder, you either upload a folder. With Gemini, you can go straight to get it from your drive. So using that folder that you've already named, title, you already have an idea of what's there because GenAI has already told you, from what we've done in session 1. Then you can use the prompt to retrieve. The keyword here is only. The reason being, you might have used other files with the same thread. So if you don't say only, it would pick suitable information from other files. So you want to be specific. There are only the uploaded files. Or even to sort of reinforce that, you want to add the names of the files. if possible, if they're not too many. Again, it depends on what subscription you have. Some subscription, they don't allow even too many files anyway. Then once you've given that, you say exactly what you want. In this occasion, chronological table of phase 3 milestones. If the date is missing, say TBD, do not estimate, don't lie. Again, this is another problem where the two can look at phase 1 of the project and phase 2 of the project and use that to estimate. So you can see just step 1 and step 2, a lot has happened already. You've already organized your file, you already have the title of the file, and then you're saying use only these files before you then ask of the specific thing you are looking for. When you follow those steps, you will get your specific, and then you reinforce and say, do not do X, Y, Z. Once that's done, you can then add more. You can do this in one go, like we're going to do because we're not using much files. Or you can do it in different goes. You can do step 1, you've already organized, and step 2, you can do it, and then after step 2, you move on to step 3. Or you can do it in one go. Again, it depends on the tool you're using. If it's Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot, you work with your tools and you know what's most suitable. If you look at step 3, it says for every milestone list, identify which specific document, page number, the information was put from. You remember we've done this in session 1 before. It was a way of preventing hallucination. And once you have a prompt like that, you can see from the step 2 and step 3, there's a lot put in place already built into this prompt to stop generative AI from hallucinating. You can then add a responsible GenAI check. If you have old versions that you've worked with before, find a way to check that I didn't do it, I didn't use it. Okay. Having said that, let's practice what we just said. This document, this is for the session number 2. So you will have it with this session number 2. You have this document. So again, download it to be able to use it directly by copying and paste. But if you don't download it and you're using the way you've got a link, that means you have to type. In the first activity that we're looking at, the knowledge-based one, we have the scenario and first of all, how not to do it. On the left-hand side, as usual, I'll follow the same process. I'm going to use only 3 documents, but that's enough. But you will see the differences from even the few documents that we've used. So I will just upload a document now. So, as usual, we have pages that we're working with. The first one is for how not to do it, and the second one is for how to do it. That is the beginner and the expert. So the first one is for beginner, how not to do it, and the second one is for the expert, how to do it. Let's start with the beginner. I've already uploaded the document. You can see there are different files here, PDF and CSV, Excel. So I'm going to upload some files, tell me what the milestones are for phase 3. So I run that and I get the expert, which has already been done using only this. Here, you mention the file names, especially if you've used other files, you mention the specific file names that you want it to use. If you say only this uploaded file, but if you haven't uploaded the files before, now it depends on the subscription you have. You might have uploaded some files to other trade. Some of the tools, they will pick information from that other trade. So it's always a good practice to say only from these named files. If you can't name the files, then you group them with a title, like we did, the knowledge base or something, and then use that title so it will stick to that. This is the prompt we've talked about, and then we'll see the difference. First up, what you see here for the how not to do it, it did pick the date. You see it says from August 20 to 26 to November, phase 3 installation. It didn't give you a specific date, but it gives you the source because you haven't prompted it to do that. You just said, tell me what the milestones are. That one is not a milestone, so that one already is wrong. But then, phase 1, you have a date here and other information. Now the problem with this is it depends how many files you give. This happens from just the sources from one file. And what is this telling you is that if you have many files, you're using many files, the 50 files in a folder, it's working with that folder. First of all, you're going to have a lot more information under here, under each phase, and some of them won't be correct. I can assure you that. But this is just off one file, and you have similar to that already. So it's done that in a different part. Now, must be finalized and certified. If you look at the example, you will see that's not the case. It's not the most. So again, something has been made up there. But it looks as if that's the case. But if you go through the example, you'll see it's not. And then you get a table, a quick list of milestones. So again, as usual, some truthful information, some actual information that you need, and a lot that you don't need. And some of them are not even true. So that means editing, correction, and all of that. You have to do all of that, and you might spend ages doing that. Imagine this came out from only 3 files. If you had 50 files, trust me, there'll be a lot of editing to do. Whereas when you've prompted it properly, you see it went straight to the point, to the table. And then some notes that you might not even need because you already have everything in the table. So it gives you the date first because this is what you asked. If you look at the expert prompt, it goes straight to giving you what you're looking for. So first of all, you don't waste time reading what you don't need, like in the first one, and you don't waste time editing. You just go straight to the point. The start date, that's the date. No extra unnecessary information like you did for the other one. And then transformer, and everything goes straight to the point what you're looking for. Again, be mindful that we've used only 3 files here. If you were using 50 files and all of that, then it's a different ball game. It's a whole lot of information, but you would have the table concise if you've prompted it properly. Unlike if you haven't, you have plenty of information that you don't need, that you have to edit, and some of the information is not actually correct. And generative AI does something like it did with this information here. It wouldn't be a lie either. It wouldn't be true. It wouldn't be a lie. It would just make up something. That happens also. Sometimes it's just full-blown lie. Okay, but then you've seen the difference between when you're working with different files and trying to get specific information out. And I've talked you through the different process, the steps before you get to that specific information, which is you have to organize the files first and then the naming and all of that. Okay, so that's our first example of practice for this session. Okay, but before we go into the second practice, because I haven't said that in this session, I will just repeat that. If we go to the slide now, be mindful of the steps and the scenario, because it's the scenario that you take and make it your own specific workplace scenario. That's how you make the best out of this course. You take our scenario and make it yours and add more information and then follow the process, the steps. If you do both of them, you'll be fine and you'll be surprised how much improvement your usage of GenAI is. Okay, like I said in the first session, we have more than 20 different scenarios that you can adapt to your own organizational context that you need. Mindful of the scenario. But thank you very much for staying to the end of this session, and I'll see you in the next session. Have a good day. Thank you.